Good morning, John Augustine, back again. Fishermen. Those of you living in coastal areas where there are fishing boats. I grew up in Howth, in County Dublin, and there was a lot of fishing boats there at that time. They would be often on what they call the West Pier, where they were moored, or where they come in. There was often three boats. There was the one near the quayside, another one beside another one. There was often three. There were so many boats. Yeah, and they went out at night time, generally speaking, just like the apostles. They went out at night time as well, according to what we know. Anyways, we're talking about the fishermen, and so and they went out, and then every year there was the blessing of the boats. And there was a great day. There was little flies everywhere. In the summer, usually, the blessing of the boats. And then you got a trip on a fishing boat. It would maybe around what they call Orlanzoy. Nice trip, which I was on many a time. And I'd like to get in a boat that had what I call plenty of horsepower. I seem to be interested in horsepower and also in portholes, because the more portholes there was, the more bunks there were. And I often went down to see the state of the bunks, because there's sometimes a fisherman would have a rest in the bunks, maybe a snooze. Tough old job. And then I used to look at where we'd be fishing, because it'd be rough sometimes, and so that there was often a good size around the boat. So that if it was too low, you could fall off. It has happened, unfortunately. Fishermen have been lost at sea. We know that ourselves. But in any event, it was a great day. And funny enough, when we were in Howth, matter of fact, my grandfather in Howth was a fisherman. He had a fishing boat, and he had what they called punts, which he used to for people in the summertime when they wanted to have a row boat out they went, maybe over to Orlanzoy, and boyfriend taking his beloved in the boat and saying, and as long as she wasn't kind of liable to get seasick, you know yourself, because it wouldn't be just exactly a calm like a lake. It'd be waves, and you'd be rowing away. I mean, I rowed a boat over to Orlanzoy myself. Yeah, sorry, and I used to go out with one of the ones that had motorboats when I was young. Myself and my brother Dawn would be standing at the bus stop. The buses was coming in the sun. It'd be all full. Would you like a boat or a punt, or to come in a motorbike over to Orlanzoy? We'd come out with this. We were little salesmen, if you like, and we'd get them down, and down they went, and the motorboat, and then we got a few shillings for our walk, and we got trips then in the motorboat over to Orlanzoy, and I loved it. Anyways, and when we were young, only 7 or 8 or something, and so this was the great excitement with fishermen. Here we come to other fishermen. They're a certain type of a breed, good. They were very good people by and large. So Jesus, when he was preaching, he went along the Sea of Galilee, and there was Peter and his brother Andrew was after coming in fishing, and Jesus said to them, "Come follow me," and they did. But they were by your leave, thank you very much. He had some great quality, of course, he was the Son of God, wasn't he? But they didn't know that. And then he went a bit further, and a fellow called Zebedee was and his 2 sons John, wait now, John and his brother James, they were mending nets. And Jesus said to them, come follow me. Off they went and left Zebedee to mend his own nets. I don't know what Zebedee said to them. Follow Jesus. So all the ones that were apostles was fishermen. And Jesus said to them, I'll make you fishers of men. It's in the Bible. He did this great gift. So he didn't take all the learned ones, the ones that know it all. He took fishermen. And they were slow on the uptake, many of them, with all the miracles that Jesus performed, thousands. And he gave the parables and he explained to them and that, and they saw the miracles and they saw all the good that he did. And so this is the thing. He took simple folk and fishermen. So that wants to tell us something. So the more innocent and what's the word? The more you're just an ordinary person, the better in some ways, because we see what Jesus did. And he didn't, the ones that was in charge in those times, the leaders, they call them high priests, but they were probably rabbis or something, and all that. All the high positions, and they loaded a lot of old problems on the people. And there were so many rules and regulations that the people couldn't really keep up to it. And Jesus didn't do that kind of thing. He created a different message, a message that actually nourishes the soul. And he went with sinners and those that were astray, tax collectors and all this. And he was often criticizing the Pharisees and all these ones, often tried to trap him, but they couldn't. But they were that thick that they often didn't accept what they saw, because they killed the prophets as well. And then they started celebrating, but it's in their DNA, shall we say. But he took a fisherman. Yeah, so let's focus on that. Fisherman. The salt of the earth, as the fellow says. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea in the sky, and a star to steer us by. But they'd also have other ways of going about it, have compasses and things like that, and other facilities that they could see. You'd see various things coming out, and then they could talk to people on these radios that they had. So they had a good few things in my time. You'd never think it, would you? But our government, of course, has interfered with our Irish fishermen and put quotas and this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of complaints. Our birthright, the seas. Other countries have eat more fish than we ever did. We only had fish on a Friday. And not everybody was that fond of fish. But in other countries, they're much more fonder than fish. Spain, there were more fish things along these cabinets and all the rest of it than they have ordinary meat and that kind of thing. Yes, and France would be eating a fair bit of fish. So these fished our waters, and they're right to be more prudent. When they were negotiating, they didn't have to give away all what they did and interfere. They should have looked after our fishermen. Yeah, they should have done that, because there's been complaints from Killybegs. There's great big ships up there. If you're ever up there, they're ocean going. They'll be out for months. They're huge ships, cost millions. But the priests up there and all the rest were complaining about what the hardship that's been put under. But this government, Why did they do such a thing? Did they not know the value of what they had? I mean, they had ambassadors in these countries. Surely to God, that's what they're there for, to know and to first of all look after the Irish. And by all means, they wanted to be in the EU and get whatever benefits there were and grants and all the rest of it. But there's always a price to be paid for getting money from people, isn't there? As a matter of fact, I think it contributed to the collapse in 2008 because instead of the banks getting the money from people that were saving more than people that was borrowing, and then they dished out whatever surplus. But then when we joined the EU, it would get money for zero interest, and they went a bit funny. They were giving money right, left, and centre. You can't just see there's always a price, and suddenly things collapsed, but they still owed the money. And the banks all failed. And to be bailed out, so it's a very funny time. So you can see, like, when you're in charge, you've got to sort of check with other experts. You've got to have good leaders that protect the interests of the Irish farmers and fishermen. And I think they didn't do either. The farmers might have benefited, but it's always a price eventually to be paid, isn't it? Yeah, there was a lot of small farmers had some cows and that, and they were able to send their milk and all the rest of it and make a living. And one friend that I have whose aunt was a farmer and they were very close. And she had about 60 acres and she had about 35 milking cows. And then the calves would be another 35. And they're doing very well and getting 92 cents a gallon at the time. Before we joined, before they started interfering with farmers. And they had to get out of the cattle because they had to put in so much machinery and this, that, and the other that the EEC, they wanted big farmers. But it's the small farmers that salted the earth like the fishermen. And suddenly they had to get rid of their cattle because she was getting 92 cents. And it went down to 32. So you couldn't, so they all got out of it. So it's suddenly big fellas. So this is the EEC. We voted twice against it, but our votes weren't respected. Those of us that see what we see, how come the government didn't see it? They had two different. We rejected the Nice Treaty, and we rejected the Maastricht Treaty, but they didn't respect it. Had the second referendums, so they didn't respect the democratic will. And look at the result. Fishermen are not complaining, and there'll be a price to be paid for it yet, a serious price. Because look at the price of fuel. Look at the price of fuel, the way it's gone. Sky high. Because of this government. The policies they adopted. The green agenda. Which is another business for increasing costs. Yeah. Oh. Anyways, we're talking about fishermen. We're talking about the fishermen that Jesus told. So we look at that and we admire them and support them 100%. The Christian TV Ireland project will be respecting them and interviewing them and seeing what problems they have and seeking to have them resolved. We won't be hiding behind a bush. We should try to speak the truth as we see it and look after our brothers and sisters that are getting and finding difficulties. Fishermen are the backbone of the country, and so is farmers, in my book. Small farmers, not the other ones. Small is beautiful. Yeah. So there we are. I just thought I'd run that past you and give you something to think about and pray about. Bye now. I'll be doing